Welcome back to another episode of Modular Wild. I am Raul. Today we're going to be going a little bit further with the ADC pattern sequencer by Fonitronik, the MH11. In the profile video, we kind of did an overview of the features of this sequencer and talked about all the different tricks it's got up its sleeve and the different modes that you can set each of the steps in. For this first video, what we're going to be doing is just demonstrating the basic sequencing capabilities of it, such as on-off voltages and programming CV notes in here. In the video that's going to follow this one, we're going to be looking specifically at the ADC feature because I thought that needed a little more time dedicated to it. So this time we're just going to be kind of programming notes and getting a clock going here. So if you look off to the left over here, I have a Dixie. This is going to actually be generating our clock for us via a pulse or a square wave. I have actually two iterations of the clock going out from here. One of them is going up into the top section up there to our friend the Trigger Riot that we'll be using a little bit later down the road. And then this white cable that you can see coming out of the Dixie is going to be patched into the clock input. So that's actually what you need to get your sequencer moving along. Now, over on the left, on the top LED array, you can kind of see, hopefully, move this out of your way, you can hopefully see right there that it's kind of advancing through each of the steps. And it's going through 1 through 8 right there. And then something else it's also doing is at the bottom, you can see right about there that there's a light going on at the trigger output, the one that's labeled TR, and that one's actually telling you that there's a trigger going out on each one because all of these are in the on position, as you can see right there. Remember back to the profile video where if you have two sequential steps, right now all of them are kind of on, then the gates merge, which is why the gate light is sort of just on the whole time. So right now what I'm doing is I'm taking that trigger output over here and using that to fire my envelope off on the right, and then the output of the envelope is going over to a VCA. I have the CV out of our MH11 right over here, going out to a quantizer right here, being quantized to a major scale right there, and then the output of that is going to our 1 volt per octave of our Z3000, and then the output of that is going to our VCA, which is what we hear at our mixer. Now it might be a little bit tricky to kind of get in here and start programming your sequence as the clock is moving it along. Now you could always, do it by ear if you wanted to, and kind of see if you could follow the lights at the same time, or you could kind of slow it down like that, and then maybe program it, but then you have to wait for it to come all the way back around. But it's got a button right here next to clock that allows you to advance it step by step when you are programming it. So if I move it forward by hitting it once, you can hear it advanced. So now it would make it a little bit easier to program. So if I go up to the last step and then hit the first step, that's my note on step 1. So now I could change the note. Now I won't be able to hear it, which is kind of an issue. So what I like to do is basically get a tone coming out. So I'll just take the pulse wave here. And I'll unpatch this in a moment once we have the melody that we want programmed. So there's our tone. Now if I adjust this, I can hear the note that I'm programming. So let me just find right about there maybe. Now I can advance one step. Right there. And then program my next note, advance another step, on step 4, on step 5 now, and then step 6, and then step 7, I'll actually leave step 7 there, and now step 8, okay, so now if I advance it, now if I want to hear it in context, I just patch my clock back in, and I can run my sequence, and then unpatch my pulse wave. And that tempo is going to be a little bit too slow, so let me turn it back up. Now at this point, if I wanted to turn off any of the steps, I could do that. Maybe turn off step 3. Step 6. Or, you know, turn that back on, maybe turn off step 7, maybe. Step 4. So that's the kind of sequence that I'll be working with. You can also change the overall range of the CV that you're outputting by adjusting this if you want to. And you can hear kind of the sequence is now not as broad, not across so many octaves anymore. And if you go all the way down, eventually becomes a very sort of narrow sequence over just a few pitches. Or even one pitch. Let's take it to maybe about right there. Okay. Now you can also manually reset your sequence to step 1 if you wanted to as you were programming or while you're playing it live. So you just hit reset and it takes back to step 1. And you just do that as many times as you want or you need within your musical sequence. You can also trigger this via the CV input with an external gate. So let's hear what that sounds like. If I go up to my trigger riot, this guy right here is actually generating a gate or a trigger. Let's see how often. Every 4 beats. So let's do it every. Well, let's do an odd number. So like let's do maybe every 11. It'll generate a trigger. So I'll patch that out. And then patch it into the reset right there. And you can hear now the sequence is resetting every so often. I could vary it up by going in here and bringing it to a different number. And you could of course use some kind of other type of clock divider or gate or trigger within your Eurorack sequence or modular. You could use a sequencer, see a gate output from a keyboard or anything like that, or a random gate. Okay, so let's add a drum beat now. So if we go up to the trigger riot, I have some of these sounds already set up. I have my bass drum going out to our mixer up here, and I have a closed hat going there, and a snare drum going right there. So all we have to do is set up a few triggers, and then we'll have a little sequence of the melody. So I'll take the output from there and then patch it into the gate in of our kick. And then I also have to plug in the mixer output into our main mixer. So that'll be right down here. Now I want that to be a little more frequent, so I'm going to maybe there. And the tempo is not really syncing up, so let me try about 2. I think I muted it. Yeah, I like that. So let's try adding a hi-hat. So I'll take this maybe, patch into our closed hat gate. Get a snare drum going. We'll just go into the gate right there. Now if I want to keep that drum sequence, now I can go and shift my sequence a little bit. adjust it on the fly as I see fit. Or I can have all the steps on if I want. And it's a little bit repetitive there, but you can of course adjust these on the fly as well. And one of the things that's going to help alleviate this sort of repetitive type sound that you might get when you're programming this is the ADC feature, which we'll actually be covering in another video coming up. So hopefully you got some use out of this and you enjoyed it. Please leave any feedback that you have on this video or any of the other Modular Wild videos on our YouTube channel. So hopefully we'll see you in the next segment, and thank you very much for watching.